It has been a heavy 2 weeks for Israelis as the ceasefire with Iran seems to be holding. Today's return of normalcy is followed by immense heartbreak after the IDF announced that 7 IDF soldiers were killed in Gaza on Tuesday. The IDF confirms the names as 21-year-old Staff Sergeant Alon Davidov, 21-year-old Lieutenant Matan Yashinovsky, 20-year-old Staff Sergeant Ronel Ben Moshe, 20-year-old Staff Sergeant Niv Radia, 19-year-old Sergeant Ronan Shapiro, 21-year-old Sergeant Shachar Manoav, and 20-year-old Sergeant Mayan Perlstein. The men were driving in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza when an explosive that was planted on their vehicle by terror operatives detonated. According to an initial assessment by the IDF, the explosion set the vehicle on fire, killing all of the men inside, despite efforts to put it out. The young men were all part of the Combat Engineering Battalion. And meanwhile, Iran's last Israeli victims in the 12-day war have been identified after an Iranian ballistic missile tore through the top 2 floors of an apartment building in Beersheba, killing 5 people. Here's what you need to know.
The tragedy in Beersheba has rippled through nationwide after the Islamic regime decided to launch their final ballistic missiles with minutes to spare until the Trump-backed ceasefire started. Their aim had no bounds for 12 days of attacks on Israeli society, with one of their last attacks killing 5 people inside a Beersheba apartment building. I was on scene watching crews collect the remains of victims inside of white bags after the enormous blast on the top of 2 floors of this building made their bodies almost completely unrecognizable and difficult for first responders to pull out. President Herzog said Iran used one of their largest and heaviest ballistic missiles in their final attack on civilians. 4 of the 5 victims have been identified. 18-year-old Corporal Eitan Zaks was killed with his 18-year-old girlfriend, Noah Bogoslavsky, and his mother, Michal. Zaks was in combat training in the elite multi-dimensional unit, but was home doing an online medics course because of the ongoing security situation. Bogoslavsky, who's from Arad, was visiting her boyfriend when the attack happens. The 3 of them left their safe room after hearing the initial siren, but didn't make it back into the shelter after the second siren sounded. Ynet reports the father of the family survived the attack after he was trapped underneath the rubble. Officials also say Naomi Shanan was killed in her nearby apartment and was known for her hard work with the Hostages Family Forum throughout Beersheba. 28 people over the 12-day war were killed and more than 3,000 people were injured. Thousands of Israelis have been displaced as a result of their homes being damaged from ballistic missile hits.
The first full day of the ceasefire between Israel and Iran was successful without any major incident. U.S. President Trump said the war is over and Iran is done with its nuclear ambitions. And Prime Minister Netanyahu told the nation that Israel had defeated Iranian ambitions to destroy the Jewish state. Here's more from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
After 12 days of inflicting great damages on Iranian nuclear capabilities, the Israeli Air Force did not target Iran since yesterday morning. In Tehran, government supporters took to the streets in moderate numbers. In Qom, mass funerals were held for members of the Revolutionary Guards killed in Israeli strikes. After an initial glitch, Iran has complied with the Trump ceasefire announcement, and there were no incoming rockets in Israel. Speaking on the sidelines of the NATO conference, Trump said the Iranian nuclear program was finished, and so was the war.
Tired of it. I think they don't want it to happen again. And Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon, by the way. I think it's the last thing on their mind right now.
Uranium enrichment.
What?
About uranium enrichment.
They're not going to have enrichment, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and they know that. They're going to get on to being a great trading nation. You know, they're very good traders. And they're going to be a great trading nation, and they have a lot of oil. They're going to do well. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
So did they promise?
The last thing on Iran's mind right now is nuclear weapons.
Trump said the U.S. is not pushing for regime change in Iran.
Do you want to see regime change in Iran?
No. If there was, there was. But no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos. And ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos. So we'll see how it does.
In Jerusalem, Prime Minister Netanyahu proclaimed historic victory over Iranian nuclear ambitions and its ballistic missile program.
אזרחי ישראל היקרים, ב-12 הימים של מבצע עם כלביא השגנו ניצחון היסטורי, והניצחון הזה יעמוד לדורות. הסרנו מעלינו שני איומים קיומיים מיידיים, איום ההשמדה בפצצות גרעין ואיום ההשמדה ב-20,000 טילים בליסטיים. מכת הפתיחה המפתיעה של עם כלביא תירשם בדברי הימים של מלחמות ישראל, והיא תלמד בכל צבאות העולם.
Netanyahu credited what he called the historic joint attack by Israel and the U.S.
ואני חייב לומר לכם, מעולם לא היה לישראל ידיד גדול כמו הנשיא טראמפ בבית הלבן, ואני מודה לו מאוד על עבודתנו המשותפת. יש לכך השלכות אדירות על הביטחון הלאומי של ישראל, על הביטחון של כל אחד ואחד מכם, ושל הילדים שלכם והנכדים שלכם, ועל פני המזרח התיכון כולו.
With both President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calling the military operations inside of Iran successful, many people worry it didn't damage the Islamic Republic's regime as much as they hoped for. Joining us now to discuss is Amit Assa, the founder and CEO of Spy Information. Thank you so much for being with us today. What is your response to that first question that I posed? Was this war inside of Iran successful? You know, we're hearing today that 700 people were arrested for allegedly working with Mossad. In addition, 3 men inside of Iran were hanged by the regime for also allegedly working with Israel. What is your take on that?
First, we have to see this information and not believing what the Iranians say about these people working with the Mossad. It's more frightening the people that will not help the Mossad in any kind of connection. So we have to take it very carefully, this information. And of course, we understand that the Iranian will want to frighten the people at the street not to work. And it's good for us to understand that they are afraid from the Mossad because they see what we can do with our intelligence. This one thing. And another thing that we have to understand that people inside Iran, we have a large quantity of people, it's more than 50% now, wants to change the regime, the government. So they are afraid because we have the forces of the Islamic regime forces, God, that is putting very much pressure on the people. So they're afraid to go to the streets, to do these riots that we saw at the past, the hijab riots, for example. These are the youngest people in Iran. They want the change, they want prosperity, and they're still afraid. What they saw now, that Iran is weak, because they saw the strikes of Israel inside Iran, they saw the ability of Israel, and also they saw the weakness of the regime. So now we can hear inside Iran and also outside Iran other voices that maybe we can change this regime and put them down.
But I think Israelis that I've spoken with feel skeptical that, you know, Netanyahu and Trump are saying this is a successful operation. They now see the Islamic Republic cutting off their population even more to society. You mentioned before internet blockouts, more than what we've also probably seen in the past. Is there enough damage that was done to the regime itself, though? We know that IRGC commanders and senior officials inside of the government were also taken out, but could there have been more?
Yes, I think that the war is not ended yet. We had 2 missions, very successful missions, that it was very important to put them down is the Islamic regime nuclear ability. It was aiming Israel for very short time now, so we had to put it down. And also another threat was the ballistic. We did a very good job with that, but we understand that you can reconstruct all this ability again, and the regime is now announced that they will want to reconstruct it. So we have to do more. And maybe in some kind of agreement, we will have the ability to put them down from this plan that they have. But I'm skeptic about it because this radical Islam regime doesn't want to get back to what we want them to be, not radical, and it will be we will need to do something in a very new future. The war is not ended yet.
And it makes sense because just yesterday, the IDF chief of staff said the campaign against Iran is not over yet. But you mentioned before ballistic missiles. I think the Israeli public has really learned a lesson within the last 12 days of the strength and force of these ballistic missiles. We saw just one missile yesterday destroy the backside of a building in Beersheba, killing 4 to 5 people. I was there. I was watching first responders pick up the remains of what they could find of these innocent civilians that were killed. How much of the ballistic missiles, or how many ballistic missiles do you think Iran still has? And do you think it's been seriously cut off by half?
Yeah, I think it's more than a half that we cut off. And also, it's not just the number of the ballistic missiles, it's also the launchers. Launchers of these missiles is less than they need, and we are hunting them. We have the ability to go over Iran in any place that we want. The sky is empty and free for us because the activity that we did. So we are hunting them one by one. And, you know, even if they have just a few thousand, hundreds or maybe a dozen of missiles, it's enough. One missile to hit Israel in populated area to make very big damage as we saw. So it's not that optimistic, but we know that it comes to an end.
Right.
If we will have the chance, if this ceasefire will not last, we will deal hunting all these launchers and missiles, and I think that we can reduce them very much.
We have about a minute left, but Israeli officials have continued to say that Iran is the head of the snake when it comes to the terror proxies in the region. This ongoing war with Hamas, between Israel and Hamas, is still happening inside of Gaza. Could there be a hostage ceasefire deal happening soon?
I think I hope that we have to linkage between the agreement that we will have with the Iranian to what happens now in Hamas in Gaza, because Iranian puts what we have, what we see in Hamas now. So we have to linkage it. We have to put the pressure that we have now on the Iranian into a very good and better agreement with the Hamas, because now we have the pressure on them better than we had before.
Interesting, as these regional ties continue to change. And in here, between Israel and every other country, we'll continue to see that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And this is a moment to stand strong with Israel in times of great challenge. True support is measured by action. You can go to israelbonds.com now to invest in your Israel bonds. Your investment is more than financial. It's a declaration of support as Israel defends freedom, life, and the values we all hold on to dearly. Investing in Israel bonds is a decisive way to stand with Israel, not just in word, but in commitment. Let the world see where you stand. Israel is not alone. You can invest in Israel bonds today. And as the dust settles after nearly 2 weeks of war, Israel is slowly but surely reopening. Schools, businesses, and airports are starting to open, but not without challenges. ILTV's Mayan Hoffman is standing at the entrance to one of Jerusalem's main highways where vehicles were backed up during rush hour.
Well, Shosh, I'm standing here at the entrance to Bacon Highway in Jerusalem, and there are just tons of cars driving and honking. Traffic is back to normal. This comes after the Homefront Command said yesterday that with the ceasefire with Israel and Iran holding, life can return to its usual pace.
Israel is cautiously returning to routine. On Tuesday night, the Homefront Command announced that all civilian restrictions imposed during the 12-day conflict with Iran are being lifted, clearing the way for schools, businesses, and travel to resume. Classrooms nationwide, closed since June 13th due to incoming missile fire and earlier strikes, have now been cleared to reopen. Local municipalities must still sign off, and schools damaged by Iranian rockets will remain closed until further notice. According to Channel 12, more than 300 educational institutions sustained direct or collateral damage. While the academic year is officially over, the Education Ministry said students may return to collect report cards and meet with their teachers. Daycares and summer camps are expected to open on July 1. High school students will also be able to sit for critical matriculation exams in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, the skies above Israel are clearing. Airports have been approved for full operations. Flights in and out of Ben Gurion International resumed Tuesday night.
נתב"ג יפעל 24 שעות, כולל בשעות הלילה. השדה בחיפה יפעל בין השעות 8 בבוקר ל-10 בלילה. השדה ברמון יחזור לפעילות מרגע שמשרד הביטחון יחזיר אותו לאחריות של משרד התחבורה. המעברים ימשיכו לפעול ולהיות פתוחים.
El Al, Israel's national carrier, said it will operate without restrictions and is working to bring home tens of thousands of stranded citizens. The airline is adding flights to major hubs like New York, London, and Paris. Israel and Arkia will also resume their summer flight schedules. Still, most foreign carriers are holding back. Due to earlier Houthi attacks and the escalation with Iran, many have suspended service through the summer. Officials say a few, including Fly Dubai and Ethiopian Airlines, have applied to resume flights. For now, Israelis are breathing a cautious sigh of relief. After 2 weeks of war, the gates to daily life are finally reopening.
Thank you, Mayan, for that report. And the question of how much damage was done to the key underground nuclear enrichment facility in Fordo remains to be key in learning how successful the United States strikes were on the underground facility. Iran is now saying the facilities were severely damaged, but conflicting reports claim only set the regime back by years, if not months. A top Israeli official confirmed it's too early to say, and ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has more.
U.S. President Trump insists the U.S. strikes over the weekend completely and totally obliterated Iran's key nuclear facilities. The UN ambassador explained the result.
On June 21st, a U.S. precision operation effectively fulfilled our narrow objective to degrade Iran's capacity to produce a nuclear weapon.
The Israeli ambassador agreed that the Iranian program was pushed back, but was uncertain about Fordo.
Well, I think it's still early to assess all the strikes. We know we were able to push back the program. We were able to remove the imminent threat that we had.
According to reports by CNN and the New York Times, preliminary U.S. classified findings indicate that the attack sealed off the entrances to 2 facilities but did not collapse the underground buildings. After the U.S. bombing run and days of attacks by the Israeli Air Force, the report by the Defense Intelligence Agency estimates that the Iranian nuclear program had been delayed, but by less than 6 months. Trump had this to say about the reporting.
It perfectly wiped it out, and the press is very disrespectful. I saw CNN fake news going, well, maybe it wasn't a perfect hit, it was perfect. They said maybe it did destroy it. We agree it did destroy it, but maybe it could have destroyed it more. No, it couldn't have destroyed it more. Everyone hit, and it's very disrespectful to those great geniuses and patriots that flew those planes through tremendous danger.
And we are learning the White House distributed a statement to reporters today that's on the behalf of the Israeli Atomic Energy Commission, claiming the strike on the Fordo facility destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility inoperable. It also says it's assessed the American and Israeli strikes on Iran's military nuclear program is now set back by many years. And reports are indicating a possible ceasefire and hostage release deal could happen, quote, within a few days after Iran and Israel entered this current ceasefire. A prominent American Palestinian political activist who has helped negotiate between Hamas and the United States told Jordan TV he was optimistic a deal could be reached as priorities in the region are now back focusing on the front in Gaza. Now, it's unclear what will come to fruition at this time as 50 hostages remain in captivity, with less than half of the hostages still believed to be alive. Amongst those are Omri Miran, kidnapped from Nahal Oz. He's a father of 2, and Avinatan Or, kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival alongside his girlfriend Noah Argamani. Meanwhile, there are 2 bodies of American hostages still being held in Gaza that were kidnapped on October 7th. And turning to the surprise political news from New York City, an openly anti-Israel candidate has won the Democratic primary for mayor in the city, which has the largest Jewish population in the world. Here's more with ILTV's Devo Klein.
Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani defeated former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo in a stunning defeat for the veteran politician who had heavily leaned into the Jewish vote and his pro-Israel record during the campaign against his anti-Zionist opponent. Mamdani is a longtime anti-Israel activist who said the Palestinian cause got him into politics. He accuses Israel of genocide, he backs the boycott movement against Israel, and said he would have Prime Minister Netanyahu arrested if he visited New York. Mamdani has even defended the phrase globalize the intifada, which we now know to be a call for violence. Political analysts say the young Jewish voters made the difference by not making Mamdani's views on Israel an issue for them.
Younger people really don't care about the state of Israel if you look at the data. Younger Jews, they're more concerned about lifestyle issues. That is the tragedy of the Jewish community that the Jewish community has to deal with, not anybody else.
The general election is in November, and New York City Mayor Eric Adams is running as an independent, and he is a staunch supporter of Israel. Other candidates are expected to enter the race, and Mamdani's potential election as mayor remains to be seen.
Thank you, Devo, for that report. And now, do you want to transform your love for Israel into meaningful action? ILTV is a proud partner with Blessed by Israel, a company that brings you extraordinary products handcrafted by the brave pioneers of Judea and Samaria. Every purchase supports their mission and strengthens Israel's heartland. Let's take a look at the Blessed by Israel and how you can make a difference today.
As the world moves to boycott Israel, the people working to restore life to the biblical heartland face daily challenges. Blessed by Israel offers a simple way to support these efforts by bringing unique and beautiful products from Judea and Samaria directly to you. From the hilltops of God's land to your home, you can find exceptional items crafted by families and small businesses in the heart of Israel. With U.S.-based warehouses, Blessed by Israel ensures affordable prices and fast delivery. Choose from a range of products, including skincare, artisan flowers and foods, olive oil, tahini, honey, and much more. There are many great options for giving wonderful gifts to your loved ones. Visit blessedbyisrael.com to explore these products and discover the inspiring stories behind them. Scan the QR code on your screen to take part in fulfilling God's prophecies.
And let's take a look at the weather forecast. Clear skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of 21 degrees Celsius or 71 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see sunny skies alongside hot temperatures, seeing highs of 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's show. For the latest updates from Israel on all of your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels and our new live channel. You can also catch on Screen IL with 24/7 live coverage. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Shosh Pedrosian. Thanks so much for watching.